Welcome back to Earth 981 and Genesis Enterprise. Here you see me just kicking back with a mojito and chilling on one of my boats. I ain't working, but definitely enjoying the view of the river and just taking it nice and easy. You can see kind of the work that we've done as far as the city skylines off in the distance, other boats coming through. We're just sitting here relaxing, enjoying our handiwork that we've done so far. So during this chapter I got big plans, and I carried out a lot of plans. Over the next couple of months we are going to be exceedingly busy on carrying out said plans. I finally decided to bite the bullet, and we are going to go full ham into transportation as we just crash into a boat. Anyway, but yeah, we're going to go full ham and invest everything we got into transporting people now and seeing how lucrative of a business that can be. But first I wanted to kind of touch up on our shipping lane and see if we couldn't just fix this, because now we had the money and it was worth trying to see if we could fix that and maybe up some commercial products as a side effect of that. So there's a new boat that I haven't really been able to use a lot, and it's a tugboat. These tugboats are going to hold an insanely large amount of products, so it was definitely worth investing. And it was worth investing so much that we're actually going to change all of our lines to these tugboats. One, because of the amount that they can hold, and two, it just seemed like it was a better overall deal than sticking with the other boats. And I also kind of wanted to try them out because we hadn't I've never used them before, so it just, timing was right. We had the money, so. And I do believe that these things do look insanely cool. Like, that looks very, very awesome. So we replaced all of our boats that we currently bought with these little tugboats, so that was definitely a plus, and I feel like that'll help in the long run, and especially with all of Genesis food that we are now carting all over this map. I did want to give it a chance to see kind of how these boats loaded and see if we could get any of them full to just kind of get an idea, So we're going to sit here and watch these guys for a minute just to kind of see what kind of impact at least they're going to have on Genesis bread as far as overall production. Also wanted to make sure that these weren't going to mess up any of our lines and cause problems, but so far so good, and we have yet to actually get a full load of product on these boats, so they'll definitely be something we need to keep an eye out on. But I am hoping that it is going to start advancing some of our product chains, just because the demand is going to go up. As far as what we're calling for on all these lines. But enough with that. I will see if we can't check in a little bit later with those. We are going to kind of start focusing on other issues. That boat right there is full. So Teo's Whiskey's definitely doing a good job. It looks like it's going to upgrade here shortly, especially with this new supply shipment of whiskey coming in. I did want to take a second to look at her company. It does to me kind of look like a church, a schoolyard or something. It doesn't really look like a distillery. So now to dang, we got a lot of alcohol and coffee over here. With the upgrade of these new boats, we might actually start using Blackjack Gold, or Blackjack Gold, or Black Gold, Black Gold for fuel to kind of maybe supply fuel to some other towns over here. Sorry, I got a little tongue-tied. Jackpot Gold's the one in Denver. But this looks very nice. I like that. Nice big drop off of food. I am very amazed by these boats. Might have to take a ride on one of those later. Now the moment that everybody's been waiting for is time to put in our first transport line. Now I'm not going to do this how I was doing the goods drop-off points and pickup points. I wanted the depots to be built that way instead of having an in and an out. But right now our towns aren't necessarily big enough. They're definitely about to explode, but they're not big enough at this current point in time because of the lack of transportation. So at this current point in time, I'm just going to try to do basically a clockwise like bus run. I'm basically just trying to make sure that all the bus depots that we put in town are going to be covering the whole city, so that people will use our buses instead of their cars. So we're about to put a hole in the car buying business, but that's okay. I do like putting these depots on the outskirts of town because I do feel like it's better to have like a drop-off point on the outside of town. If the town grows and kind of develops over that, then that's fine. But as far as the time being, I like my depots to be on the outside of town because I feel like that just kind of alleviates some problems. Now, since Lubbock is, I think, the biggest city that we have, city, town, whatever, I'm going to implement one extra piece of advice, or one extra piece to Lubbock that I don't do in the other cities, and that is we're going to have a clockwise pickup and then we're going to have a counterclockwise pickup, just so that everybody in Lubbock is like, we're basically eliminating the cars off the line. I did accidentally pick the truck drop off, and obviously people can't get picked up there, so that is a problem, but I fix that right now. At this current point in time, I'm also not going to worry about the time and if the buses are full, because it's more of we're just doing the basic of what we need, and that is setting up the line and making sure that it works and all that other stuff. Also, the depots on the outside of town are going to be what the connecting cities, all the cities that we connect to, that is where they're going to be meeting. Yeah, that's where they'll be dropping off at. And then they can either choose to get on a bus to go into that city, or they can choose to get on a bus to go to a different city. And now it was time to buy the buses. So with this, I was going to basically put 8 buses on each line just to kind of give it the... I felt like 8 buses was good enough for each, especially for Lubbock. That was a good enough starting off point. I didn't feel like we'd need too many more buses, especially with... This was our first attempt at it. There's probably going to be lots of room for growth and trying to figure out what's what. Considering that I'd never done this before, I didn't really know what I was kind of walking into, but I wanted, to at least get enough to get the line started, and then we could work off of that. Construction crew. I already had Bobby's construction crew working on drafting up plans to fix the highway going over the the railroad tracks, just because I didn't need that. I wanted to make sure that the train wasn't being bothered, and especially being either us holding them up or them holding the buses up, or the people. I wanted to get that fixed. So they're working on that to see exactly where we need to go as far as that's concerned. That was pretty much the only line I was really worried about. We did have a slight issue with the depot coming up to the highway and traffic lights, but I don't think once we have this line set up that we're going to have to worry about that too much, so we'll probably end up keeping that, maybe get rid of the lights. I'm not sure, but for right now, those were the problems I was kind of seeing and wanting them to be kind of addressed. I did end up deciding to do Amarillo the same way as we did Lubbock, just because I felt like we were going to be able to really grow this city fast, and I kind of wanted to do some pre-planning. I also wanted to really test my theory as far as the clockwise and counterclockwise bus pickups, just to make sure that all the people were getting picked up. And once again, we went with our 8 bus per line theory or method. Like I said, I felt like that was the best idea. It had the most potential. It seemed like it was going to work out the best. So I decided to do 8 buses going clockwise, 8 buses going counterclockwise. And then I also wanted 8 buses going between Lubbock and Amarillo. Like I said, it wasn't that far of a drive, but just to kind of get traffic eliminated off the highway, I did want to connect up at least most of the cities over here. And then we had to make sure that every bus had its own terminal of drop-off point. And then the highway had its own bus lane, so that was nice, and we wouldn't have to worry about if there are traffic jams because our guys have their own line to run on. And this is kind of what I was talking about as far as like the stoplight stuff goes. It's only letting out 3, maybe 4 buses at a time. And now you can kind of see what I was talking about. There's a huge traffic jam as far as coming in and out of Lubbock, especially with all the train activity that we're going to have on this road, or on the track, as far as picking up and dropping off fuel along with bread. So I wanted to eliminate that right now before things got a little too crazy. So we had Bobby's construction crew come in, dig a hole and make a tunnel so that we could basically just go under the railroad tracks and not have to worry, and either line wouldn't be affected. Took us a minute to get the right angles that we wanted. Our first attempt was very much looking like a roller coaster, and I wasn't really all for that. So we scratched that idea and retried trying for a little bit of a better slope. So we ended up deciding to go a little bit further back and starting the descent back there instead of it being a really aggressive descent at the whole time. So sometimes you gotta do things multiple times. We didn't waste a whole lot of money, so it wasn't necessarily a big deal, but we did get it figured out in the end. I am happy to say that this is pretty much the only line that we really needed to do a little bit of work on, as far as like building up and changing the roads and stuff like this, just because this was the one that had the most activity on it. I did need to free the cars off the railroad track, so we did do that and got them off, and now we're able to kind of clean up that road a little bit and make it to where no cars and no roads were going to the railroad tracks. The only thing that we're going to have to focus on here in the next couple of years is actually making it so that our trucks and buses are now have easy access into the cities, as far as having bus lanes, so that we don't necessarily have to worry about that anymore. But it is going to take us a minute to get our Amarillo and Lubbock buses set up, especially with people, because it's going to take them a minute to get around the city and then be dropped back off here if they do want to go to Lubbock. I did decide to make depots bigger, just in case we do get to that point where we need to hold more people, and I also wanted to make it bigger just in case multiple buses came in. We could hold multiple buses and they wouldn't be sitting on the street blocking bus traffic, because like I said, we got the bus lanes over here. We don't have the bus lanes in the city yet. Amarillo is probably one of those ones that we need to work on, and I think Cape Coral is also another one that we're going to have to work on. Lubbock is going to be an expensive endeavor to make bus lanes, so we might have to pick those out strategically. But looking here, you could kind of see that I wanted Cape Coral to come to Lubbock, and I wanted Tolosa also to come to Lubbock. That would also help me out when I did decide to go to Tolosa for work. We hadn't been to Cape Coral yet, but there were a lot of people making the drive from Cape Coral to Lubbock, so I felt like it was in the best interest to make that a possibility. I also came to Lubbock. We also expanded the busport just for the same reasons. Lubbock looked like it was going to be a very active hub, especially with all the people coming to Lubbock that we're having come from Tolosa, Cape Coral, Amarillo. It also, Lubbock being the biggest city that we had, made sense that it was probably going to have the most active hub out of all of them. Tolosa also had the potential, it looked like, to have a very active bus hub, because it would have Bridgeport, Charleston, and I'm blanking on the name, but the other city that's along the river over there. So Tolosa and Lubbock look like they're going to have really big bus ports as far as the rest of them going, just because there's a lot of cities around them, and it kind of made sense for them to be a center point of the transportation community. Cape Coral, just because of the size, wasn't going to be one of the cities that we did the counterclockwise way. We're just going to do one way, just because, like I said, the city was small. We didn't need a large number of buses going all over the place, but I did want to set it up for the future ability to be used. Glendale's the other city. So you had Toulouse coming, you had Glendale coming to Toulouse, you had Lubbock coming to Toulouse, and vice versa. You'd also, we're going to work on getting Charleston coming to Toulouse as well as Bridgeport. So you did have a lot of, Toulouse was going to kind of be the northern part of the transportation area, and Lubbock was going to be the southern one, especially when we get Colorado Springs and Midland hooked up to the transport community. Like I said at the beginning of the chapter, I wanted to get all these transportation lines set up just so I could kind of see what we'd be dealing with here as far as buses, and if the number that I was picking was going to be enough. And making sure that we got all the paint jobs correct as far as with what depot they'd be going to. I did make the Cape Coral ones. I did decide to go with 5 on that one, and that one was the city one. And then I also didn't go as big when we did Cape Coral to Lubbock, just because once again it's a small city, small town. We didn't need a huge number of, there wasn't a huge demand for it, so I didn't feel the need to go up to 8, but we were going to keep an eye on it as far as if it did need 8. But I also wanted to get all these lines set up so that we knew what was what. And just in the few months that Lubbock had been online and Amarillo had been online, the city had grown enormous. We had huge amounts of growth being applied to the city of Lubbock to where I might have to go back in and readjust bus lanes as far as where they stop, or maybe even add a second bus lane as far as where it goes, making sure we cover the whole city. Cape Coral looked like it was doing all right with the number of buses that we had given it. Amarillo and Lubbock looked like they were doing what was needed as far as buses being distributed. The number of pedestrians that were actually driving to work was lowering, so I felt like we were doing our job there. And once again, Tolosa grew exponentially really fast. Like, that was crazy. So we might need to come back in to Tolosa and kind of upgrade and edit the lines as far as where the buses go and where they stop, because there was a whole section over here that was not being accounted for, because I feel like it grew, just kind of popped out of the ground. So we added another bus station there to kind of help with the sudden growth on that side. Now it was time to come to Glendale and do the same thing as we had done in the other 4 cities. And I was putting a bus station out here. This one might end up being moved just because there is a Beauport right there, and we might use that to start shuttling people from Charleston to maybe Glendale, and that might be the way to do it. Or we might start shuttling people from Glendale or Charleston to Lubbock through the canal that we made in the last chapter, and just kind of adding to that. I think Glendale's one that we can come back to, because I'm not sure. I think we did a counterclockwise one, but I don't think we ended up doing that. So Glendale will definitely probably be one that we need to come back to also make a double line, because Glendale's a pretty sizable city. And that would definitely help with the transportation, at least over there. It's a very desirable place to live. It's right on the riverside, and there's a lot of beachfront property that is definitely probably going to be developed. And eventually there's some of these towns like Glendale and Toulouse that probably does need a train line. But I kind of want to get, I guess, the transportation up and going, like the desire to actually be on the boat or the buses and whatnot, to kind of the want to be there before we invest in trains. But we're definitely going to have to connect Toulouse with Bridgeport. That's probably going to end up happening. I'm not sure how we're going to do that yet, because we kind of need to go in there and kind of figure out the train situation, because we got Blue Ore coming in and we got Tommy's Tool Factory, and it's just, we got a lot coming in there, so we need to kind of figure out what's what as far as how to get the train to and from Bridgeport to Toulouse. If we get it to Toulouse, we could probably really open up Bridgeport as far as the amount of people traveling to and from there, because it is at this point closed off from Toulouse and the southern part of the cities that we do have down here. Glendale actually isn't, there's not as many people on the road as I thought there was, but we definitely are helping the population stay off the road by putting buses in, so that is a good thing. You can kind of see the numbers starting to go down as far as people walking and also people in their cars. So we are doing a good job as far as that is concerned in Glendale. We probably need to check it out in Lubbock, because look at it, like that is not the same city that we started off with at the beginning of this chapter. Like, very big. It is growing, so we might have to treat Lubbock for the time being differently than the rest of the cities, and I might have to come back in here and kind of edit that a little bit. And also you can kind of see Amarillo's growing. Right now the only thing that we're supplying that Amarillo with is bread. So the fact that we're supplying them with bread and they're asking for 4 consumer products, we're doing a pretty good job. We will need to go into Amarillo as well, I feel like, before it gets too big, to kind of grow the roads. But now it's time to attach Charleston to Bridgeport, at least get them traveling. And like I said, we could probably maybe use the boats in Bridgeport and kind of maybe go to Lubbock. And then, I mean, I know that makes the travel plan long, because you're having to go from Bridgeport to Charleston, get on a boat in Charleston, and then go to either Glendale or Lubbock, depending on where we want to go with that. And yeah, you can see how long that would end up making that travel. So we'll think about it. Maybe we boat them across the lake, and then they get on the train and then go to the, I don't know. We'll think about that. We have possibilities, so we'll need to kind of put a pin in that, and we'll come back to that one. But eventually, yes, all the cities will be connected. All the everybody who's a passenger or who lives in a city will be able to be connected to all the cities, at least, if not one of them that can get you to another city. So we finally came over here and started connecting Bridgeport, getting them all set up and looking pretty. Just kind of figuring out where to best would be to put the bus stations and the general area that it'll cover. like I said, we're probably going to have to come back over a few of these and fix them. I do know that one bus port that we put down, or bus station that we put down, there's nothing there, but trust me, with the growth that we have been having from just growing the station or putting bus stations in, and the growth that we've had from it, there'll be residents or commercial there. Bridgeport's probably also one of those other ones that we can put a clockwise in. I'm pretty sure we didn't end up putting a clockwise station in, so we'll have to probably go back and do that. Either that or add more buses. Either way, so we might as well add the extra line, or the counterclockwise line. And then now to connect the two up, since the cargo line was just one and we didn't have like a second line on there, I felt like we could just add to the station, and then we could just piggyback off of the station that's already there and just kind of use what's there and make it for passengers. And it's about at this time that we realized that this train station is just strictly for cargo. So coming in here and fixing what we need to fix and adding a second station or more stations to it. Probably going to have my construction crew come in here and rethink this a little bit, because this looks very messy and we're leaving a lot of open track as far as what's like, we're kind of pinching ourselves in, so we might have to come in and clean house a little bit over here and make it look pretty and kind of effective, or efficient. Efficient's the word. And it might be time to kind of maybe go around, do another little house cleaning episode. I know house cleaning chapter, just because things get messy real quick, especially when you get into the point where you have a lot of money. So we might need to come back in and just kind of tidy a few things up. It's looking a little messy out there. But for the time being, I was trying to figure out what the best train would be for transporting. I felt like it'd be cheaper to go buying a train that was like all inclusive. This one was a whopping 7.2 million, and I was like, that's kind of a steep price, but at the end of the day, buying the locomotive and then buying the cars, and especially it not being able to go as fast as what I'd wanted to, I just felt like it was best to do the whole thing at the same time. It might also be time to start really investing in the high-speed tracks, along with upgrading some of the locomotives that we have, as well as their cargo, because I feel like some of the cargo trains, or the cargo whatever you call them, are lacking in amount that they can, bring, hold, whatever. So it might be time to kind of really think about that. And this is where we are heading to the cargo thing, the cargo depot. That's me just future-proofing, just in case, thinking about it. I'm not sure why, but who knows, it might come in handy in the future. I might have to delete that so we can get tools over here from Tommy's Tool Shop. We still are trying to figure out how to get that over here. I am right now working with Bobby's construction crew to figure out how we can get some fuel over here as well, from Black Gold, because it doesn't look like we need a whole lot, but it would be nice to, have them getting fuel, and especially hopefully helping Black Gold out a little bit. Now that we got Charleston all hooked up, we got Bridgeport hooked up, we just need the buses to come in and start collecting the people and making their rounds. Therefore, people can start getting connected between the two towns, and hopefully it will help the economy in both of the cities to where they can grow exponentially like Lubbock, Amarillo, and Toulouse have been growing. I'm not going to really expect a whole lot of people on this. This was me noticing a problem as far as the buses are concerned. I didn't want there to be a holdup, especially when we're dealing with trains and whatnot. I wanted people to be able to, catch their train to Bridgeport. It seemed very important to make that happen, so I did add its own bus lane in there, so we're not worrying about the trucks on the line. They have their own, everybody has their own separate thing, and the exit really isn't that big of a deal because at that point they're just trying to get out. So buses are able to use it. It looks nice, it looks effective, and we're just going to keep it like that for now. And hopefully people actually start leaving Charleston and going to Bridgeport, or vice versa. Bridgeport's a little bit of a mafia-grown city, so there is that slight underhand, but it is what it is. I did notice that the passengers are kind of having to walk somewhat of a far distance around Two Sons Construction. As you can kind of see there, they're walking around Two Sons Construction to the lack of a better word, let's call it the train station. It's more of a train depot-ish kind of thing because we got a lot of construction stuff coming in, being dropped off, and obviously taken. There's the Charleston train. It is still yet to hit full capacity, so hopefully we'll be able to bring something else online. And then I decided to buy another train, and at that point that's when I kind of realized that, well, Charleston to Bridgeport only has one train line, so it's kind of pointless to have that. Glendale now needs fuel, so that might be worth now seriously considering on hooking up Charleston and Glendale. Looks like we got some passengers coming in, which is exciting. And that's a little bit more profitable than I thought we would be. So we now have people coming between the two cities. That looks good. And like I said, if we had someone coming in, I'd want them to come into Tommy's Tool Factory area. If I have to, we'll either make a bus depot or we'll make like a little bus stop and just have that be like a single shuttle running from there to like maybe a bus stop inside the town that they can get picked up and get on the track. But we're definitely looking like we're doing a good job there. The pedestrian numbers are a little bit lower than what they were before we started, so people are using the buses, so we're doing something right. We might need to add a couple more buses to the Toulouse-Lubbock run, and this is also kind of why I waited, I guess, so long to get into the transportation areas, because if you look at those numbers, that's a lot of loss. The Toulouse buses are making money, but a lot of those buses, the Cape Coral isn't. So with the Cape Coral bus, might add, once we start adding them with some supplies. But Toulouse has definitely started to grow, which is nice. We can start sending some fuel there. This is kind of the issue as far as adding a train going in there. We've kind of blocked ourselves in a little bit, so we might have to figure out something there. But Lubbock definitely has grown since we started adding transportation. Cape Coral's definitely growing, and we're probably going to have to think about some other forms of transportation as far as like Lubbock and Midland. But for now, that will probably do it. We did a lot of transportation this episode, this chapter, and I will fill you guys in on the next chapter when I'm done doing what I do. So I'll catch you guys later.